Forbes India, CNBC-TV18 present India Inc. on the Move. Smart Manufacturing, powered by Rockwell Automation.
Hello and welcome to India Inc. on the Move Smart Manufacturing Summit by Forbes India and CNBC-TV18 in partnership with Rockwell Automation. The topic of this discussion is future-ready life sciences, predictive and life-saving. The Indian pharma industry today is the world's third largest drug producer by volume, and the country manufactures 60% of vaccines globally. India is also the supplier of affordable and low-cost generic drugs to millions of people globally. The pandemic, in fact, has made many countries sit up and recognize the power and relevance of India as a leading medicine producer in the world. Though India is one of the largest manufacturers in Asia to produce generic medicines, it lags in the development of new drugs. This, however, is soon about to change due to two critical factors: genome sequencing and translational strategies. These two factors combined together has given rise to precision medicine. With the help of technology, Indian life sciences can now play a critical role in the advancement of innovative medicines. The landscape for highly innovative and cost-effective biomedical research has changed significantly. The research and development of innovative drugs is currently under significant time and cost pressure, especially in preclinical and early clinical studies. To talk more on this topic, I have with me an elite set of panelists. Ankit Jain, Asia Pacific Industry Consultant, Life Science, Rockwell Automation; Dr. M. Damodran, Chief Quality Officer, Sai Life Sciences; Sanjay Sharma, Global Head Manufacturing, Dr.Reddy's; and Rajesh Chunutkar, President Manufacturing Operations, Lupin. Welcome, gentlemen, to this conversation. Ankit, in fact, let's start this conversation with you. How do you see pharma manufacturers adopting Industry 4.0?
So, Industry 4.0 is something which is a mix of digitalization and automation. This is to bring transparency and efficiency by real-time visibility and insights for faster decision making. Now, digitalization is a next step after digitization, which is converting paper into digital form. And in order to achieve digitalization, there has to be an ecosystem of the cyber physical space. When I say cyber physical, it is both internal and external to any organization. Internal, like its instruments, sensors, devices, manufacturing execution systems, quality systems, etc. And on the external side, for the manufacturers, it is always the patients, regulatory authorities, and suppliers. And when this ecosystem is created, that is what becomes the smart factory or the future factory. In context of pharma, this essentially becomes Pharma 4.0. Now, how the industry is adopting it is by leveraging this ecosystem. They're trying to develop the use cases. And some of the pertinent use cases in pharma realm are like predictive maintenance, continuous quality assurance, real-time process optimization, digital twins for automated quality controls, digital technology transfer, etc. These are only to name a few. And the reason the industry is moving towards them is essentially to increase their output, to enhance their quality, agility, improve safety, and also reduce waste. And the industry can achieve this only when the manufacturers are working very closely with the OEMs, with the technology partners, the solution partners, by bringing the industry contextualization to the solutions that are being implemented under digital transformation.
Mr. Sharma, let's pose the same question to you. How, in fact, do you see pharma manufacturers adopting 4.0?
Last decade, I would say, we at Dr. Reddy's did a lot of investment in terms of connecting all our information, all our data, and digitalizing all the information. So what we called as the digitize the core. So we had made a lot of investment on that. So we could use a lot of use cases on top of that to create some success stories out of that. And once we saw success out of that, we went for a big bang at our largest facility in Hyderabad. And we coined it Ops Next. And we used close to about 40 Industry 4.0 use cases from 6 technologies on Industry 4.0. And we've seen significant improvement. In fact, that's now going to be our biggest lever in terms of transitioning from where we are to being the most productive in the world.
All right, Dr. Damodran, your opinion on this?
Started the journey of the paperless in the year 2014, and we have achieved almost 90% of the all our research and development, manufacturing and supply chain, and completely in the automation. So what we have done basically in research and development, AI-based drug discovery processes, and predictability on the drug design actually, and as well as actually on the in vitro studies. And in drugs discovery, we have used a lot of the softwares actually to find out appropriate drug designing, and like Skype and studio, actually discovery studios and all. In drug metabolism and pharmacokinetics, we have Gastry Plus. In scale up in the pharma manufacturing, like robotic automation, we have done it. QBD studies with the software, so particle engineering, continuous manufacturing, we have applied. These all softwares are individual softwares. We integrated this softwares into one platform, and from the individual softwares brought it to the single platform, and started working on the predictability analytics, as Ankit mentioned, actually the preventive maintenance, from the quality management system, the electronic systems, the comprehensive assessment of the failures assessments have been done, and the deviation management, so that actually we can reduce those analysis actually has helped us to reduce the failures in drug manufacturing process.
Your opinion on this?
Industry 4 revolution started few years back. Pharma industry and particularly Indian pharma industry were slow to react. But in last couple of years, there has been a big acceleration on I4. Many of our pharma players in India are actively working on various projects to take this forward. As we always say, necessity is the mother of innovation. And the generic industry is going through major changes. The prices have been crashing, the raw material prices have been increasing. So there is tremendous pressure on the industry to improve the cost. Most of the traditional levers of cost optimization we have exhausted for the matured product. That's why the industry is looking at this revolution and the digitalization to have more avenues for the cost improvement.
That point is taken. So, a couple of key points. The fact that there is a move towards being paperless and digitization is some of the key points when it comes to Pharma 4.0. But, Mr. Sharma, I wanted to come in on this particular question to you. How can the facility of the future, in fact, propel India to be a global player when it comes to life sciences?
First of all, productivity and is the core in terms of being a leader. And when I say productivity is productivity is not about people. Productivity in pharma is about being first to market, have the lowest cost, have the best customer service, and be beyond compliance at every point of time. And that's what productivity is. And these are the key elements for you to be extremely successful in the global space in life sciences. And the use cases, for example, the lighthouse that we have created on digital, the use cases that we have put together actually addresses each of the elements along these. Then we followed the golden tunnel approach, wherein you make sure whatever the operating parameters are that are giving you the best cost, the least deviation. You try to build a feedback control mechanism using multiple data points over the last so many batches. So you tend to create those. The other piece is in every business and every operation, there are a lot of variabilities. There'll be variability on the demand side, there'll be variability on the supply side, there'll be variability on the operation side. So typically, when you have a variable operating model, you cannot have a fixed cost structure. So how can you operate with a variable cost structure? So we have put in a lot of use cases around digital twins, which is about dynamic allocation of resources depending on how things are changing. So, like I said, it's for us the digital transformation is and the smart factory is the most critical and most important lever in terms of transitioning from where we are to be on the top decile on everything we do.
All right, well, that point is taken. Dr. Damodran, there is a growing demand for more targeted niche drugs as well as personalized medicine. That's exactly where medicine is moving, but in small quantities as well. Uh, what role do you think automated technology is going to play in this?
So India is, also emerging in contract development manufacturing business. So it is very more important to have automated tools to help the new molecules come to the market in a faster way. So in R&D, the AI model for drug discovery is helping us to bring the predicting drug protein interactions, as well as predict physicochemical properties, and as well as predicting bioactivity. So this in the basic research, normally it takes 3 years to do. Actually, by doing this AI, it is taking actually maybe an hour, 1 year, 1 year to 1.5 years to this one. Bring the molecule to a pre-tox studies. A lot of organizations like Glaxo, Pfizer, Roche, AbbVie, GSK, Amgen, and Gilead, all using various tools. Also, the technology is helping us to predict the success rate in a clinical trials, and also the technology is also being used to predict the success rate in the market also. So this kind of tools, AI tools, is helping our research and development to bring the molecule in a shorter period. Actually, this is one part. The second part, as Sanjeev has also mentioned, in a production environment where the molecules are manufactured in multiple batches are manufactured, there is a possibility of deviations out of specification, maybe because of the operations, maybe because of the process related issues. Those predictive analysis all being done in a appropriate manner, so that actually we can avoid the failures and bring the molecule into a market in a faster way. So and as well as actually cost, reducing the cost.
Well, interesting insights there. But Mr. Sharma, the other trend that we've seen is a rapid change in raw material availability. It's been volatile when it comes to raw material procurement in the past couple of months. Supply chain disruption, which we saw quite significantly during COVID, as well as some time ago. How do you think adopting digital technologies would help manufacturers meet customer demand on time, especially in a critical industry such as pharmaceuticals? Mr. Sharma.
It's extremely important as a part of your business continuity planning to have adequate connect with various suppliers all across the globe, and which is why it's very very important. And we typically, every pharma company does have the network, but it's a very very physical, very very manual intensive network. And in these times, it's extremely important that you are connected with them on a real time basis. So what we have done is, as a part of our procure to pay digitalization, we have digitally connected most of our suppliers. I would say we've completed large part of suppliers in India. We'll now be taking it globally. So by doing this in terms of your queries, in terms of asking and getting a response from them, it becomes a real time process. So it's nothing but just making sure that you have adequate backup suppliers, resources available, and you are able to communicate with them and get confirmation from them from different geographies on a real time basis. And which is why digitalizing this connect as a part of the procure to pay connect is very very important.
All right. Mr. Jain, coming to you now, for the life science industry, one critical factor is that there can be absolutely zero compromise when it comes to compliance, cost, quality, as well as asset utilization. Tell us, how can digital solutions help in all of these parameters? How can it be taken care of?
So when we typically work with our customers, we recommend them to apply comprehensive capability with narrow application focus. And what does this mean is to go for specific and prioritize use cases in their facility and try to realize the value from it first, so that the key stakeholders who are involved, they are on board. We have buy-in from them to proceed further and roll out into the larger structure. Now, this will essentially help them minimize the impact of the existing ways of working, at the same time ensuring that everyone is on board for this kind of a transformation. And therefore, implementing any digital solution in a phase-wise manner can be avoided without compromising on compliance or quality. Now, this can be achieved with the right partners who can bring in the required skill set in a single package, which helps them in transforming, taking this transformation journey from consulting to implementation to services.
Well, the other issue which is highly spoken about when it comes to, adopting 4.0 is cybersecurity. How does one approach cybersecurity within organizations where there are complex structures, there are connected devices, there are different capabilities of these connected devices, software and operating systems, and critical functions? And especially, again, industry which is as critical as pharmaceuticals.
The cybersecurity in complex organization need multiple prong approaches. There should be different levels of detection and protection mechanism, like the perimeter of the network, the data center, the cloud, the user devices, the applications, and so on. The surface area of a modern organization is beyond the walls of the offices and factories. We have the scenarios like the work from home, people using their personal devices, to get the shop floor data. We have the IoT devices for the customers, in their workplaces to get and fetch our data. So we have all these complexities which is happening. But most of the time, what happens that the instruments and machines, the operating systems are really old, and as far as the security systems are considered, they are very modern. So to have this update is always difficult, and that's where we need to have importance is how do we have the latest patches from this machine suppliers to update their applications. While there are different solutions available for different levels, the weakest link is always the people who operate the system. This vulnerability is exploited by the attackers through phishing, through vishing. The data from the different levels need to be correlated in the security information and event management platform, so that the quick isolation of the specific network or the specific application is immediately done. If we and also it is important that this vector, the attacking vector, has to be eliminated. And in case this doesn't happen, then finally what we have to see is that data gets corrupted. Then what do we do? So that's why the backup is very, 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 very critical. The backup of the application, the backup of the data, and how quickly we have the disaster recovery plan, which can take us and go back into the normalcy again. But during this time, it is very important that we have a business continuity plan. What is going to happen is that when these things are happening, the disaster recovery is happening, how do I dispatch my material, how do I invoice to my customer, how do I continue my production, how do I do my analysis? And that's what the business recovery plan will decide. So in short, I will say that the disaster recovery plan, the business continuity plan, and the protection and detections are very, very important in case of cyber attack.
Just quickly, Dr. Damodran, do you see regulatory compliances as a barrier or an accelerator, according to you? Pharmaceuticals is the most highly regulated industry.
By adopting the paperless technology in various areas, in all the areas, it is really helping us to accelerate our drug discovery processes today. So the regulatory compliance, in the digitalization through a part 11 compliance by the various agencies and the European agencies is definitely not it's not reducing the timeline, or it is hindering any processes. It is really helping us. Also, regulators also started doing audits in a remote way. So the paperless process is really helping us getting the faster approval from the regulators. Now, due to pandemic, they have not traveled for 2 years, but however, the approvals are happening because of this, adoption of the technology, digitalization. Definitely, in my opinion, the digitalization, automation, adopting the paperless technology is helping. Is definitely not a hindrance to that, and the compliance by the regulators is also helping.
Before we wrap up this conversation, wanted your thoughts as well.
As I mentioned earlier, that digital transformation itself is bringing the change in the rules of the game that is being played today. And as per one of the PwC reports, more than 60% of the executives today believe that this will be a key in driving growth in 2022. Now, when we talk about regulatory compliance around it, the challenges are known. And for that, the regulatory authorities have been taking certain actions to overcome those challenges. Another initiative which has been taken for over a decade now by US FDA is essentially to introduce the performance-based regulations rather than prescriptive or a process or a technology and procedures-oriented regulations. So this will also reduce the burden of regulatory compliance to a great extent. Now, when we put all these scenarios into one frame, what we see is that Industry 4.0 / digital transformation is all about enhancing the speed of not only getting the drugs out in the market faster, but with the right compliance and the right quality. And therefore, certain processes, such as the process validation, which essentially consists of the design, qualification, and verification, which is traditionally in today's world is done sequentially. And with Industry 4.0 being implemented, this can actually be done simultaneously. So regulatory compliance, I believe, is playing a major role in trying to make sure that these technological advancements reaches the end consumers as early as possible.
Any quick final comments, Mr. Sharma?
So, Ekta, on this issues around barrier, I think the barrier is more in our minds. You're operating in a industry where you make life-saving medicines, and there would obviously be regulations to control on those. So one should not look at that as a barrier. You have to look at that as a operating conditions in which you operate. It's a part and parcel of the business that you are in, and you cannot not have those level of controls which are required. But I've never seen that becoming a barrier. I think once we overcome the barrier in our minds, we can find an answer to everything.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to wrap up on that note. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining in to this insightful conversation. And hopefully, we're going to take one step forward towards Pharma 4.0. Thank you very much.
Forbes India, CNBC-TV18 present India Inc. on the Move. Smart manufacturing, powered by Rockwell Automation.